to New Orleans, Louisiana. It's time to call to order the Southern University Board of Supervisors special meeting. Today is Friday, June the 23rd, 2023. This time I'm going to ask the invocation be done in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask that Bishop Samuel Blakes come forward and provide us the invocation.
If you all would stand with me in prayer. Father, how we thank you today for, first of all, the privilege of your presence and for all of these wonderful people who have assembled in this room. I pray, Father, that your blessings will be upon this meeting, that you will give to all of them understanding hearts and listening ears. I pray for every agent of change in this room. I pray that you will cultivate within them the things that are needed to affect change in the lives of the people they are assigned to. And Father, I pray that nothing will be done through strife or for vainglory, but that all will be done to your honor and to your glory. Bless Southern University and bless all of the faculty and all of the staff and all of the directors. Constantly cause this university to triumph in tragedy and overcome hurdles and be a beacon light for the world to see. And we will forever give you glory, we'll give you honor, and we will give you praise. And let all be done until the end that lives might be changed and people might be affected for the betterment and never for their detriment. It is in your name I pray, and I give you glory. Amen.
Strong and profound. Wait a moment after the invocation, Bishop, we want to present you a certificate. Thank you for being here today. I'm asked that the invocation presenter come forward. I think it's Melina Guidry. Is that correct? Yeah. Allegiance, I'm sorry.
Good morning. I'm Sierra G. Parikh. I am the 64th Miss Southern University at New Orleans. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Thank you. Next, we have special presentations, and we're gonna start first with an exciting moment. And we're gonna swear in our new board member that happens to be a student. And I'm shrinking. I don't know what's going on with this chair here, but I'll tell you this wouldn't be shrinking if I wouldn't be eating all that good food the last couple of days. So. I blame Suno and particularly the chancellor. So our distinguished incoming board member that happens to be a student, John Young, as a Southern University member of the Board of Supervisors.
You coming with me? Yeah. Well, no, you're not gonna be able to take a picture. Huh? Can you hold it?
Want me to hold it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do what you want. Here you go.
How you doing?
Good.
You good? Okay, just repeat after me. Okay.
All right.
All right.
I, Jaron Young,
Swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the Constitution,
and the laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
discharge and perform
all the duties
all the duties
that incumbent upon me as a member of the Board of Supervisors
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability and understanding. So help me God.
That's wonderful. Well, say something if you'd like to, Jaron. You want to turn? You can face this way, I guess.
Greetings and gracious salutations. I am Jaron Omari Young, and I currently serve as the 56th Student Government Associated President from Southern University at Shreveport, and I'm a sophomore majoring in computer and information systems, and I'm from Bastrop, Louisiana, and I would like to thank the board for having me, and not only is it my pleasure to serve as a member of my school, but as a member of the entire Southern University student body. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. And the good thing. After this first meeting, you'll realize that we're gonna be the ones thanking him.
Okay.
Okay, another special presentation, and we're gonna take a. Okay. That's right. Okay. This Chancellor Sears almost ran over me getting there. I'm sorry. Auntie. Yeah. All these people in new heights around here. Violence too.
Cut it off, please.
See, we have a special presentation. We're gonna lean to the wisdom of our chancellor and recognize whomever he deems necessary to recognize during this issue. Chancellor Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Board of Supervisors, President Shields, my colleagues, all who are gathered here this morning. I am indeed honored to stand here today to share some truly remarkable news. Southern University at New Orleans is about to receive a major gift from LCMC Health, the largest donation from a private funder in our university's history. This significant contribution will support scholarships for students in what is now the Department of Nursing, a program that has long been a dream for this institution. As we reflect on the history of this dream, we must go back to 2017. We broke ground on the Natural Sciences Building, specifically designed with space to house a nursing program. Our vision was clear, and the COVID-19 pandemic significantly exacerbated the already critical shortage of nurses, giving us even more reason to make this dream a reality. Recognizing our responsibility to be a part of the solution, we developed a proposal and sought approval from this board, the Board of Regents, and the Louisiana State Board of Nurses. But I have to say something to this board. You believed in us at a time when a lot of people questioned whether or not we had the ability to pull this off. And in June, this month, 2 years ago, our program was unanimously approved, and in June 22, we hosted a visit from the Board of Nurses, which led to the approval for the start of this program. And now today, June 23rd, 2023, we celebrate this significant contribution to this program and to the students. We proudly enrolled our first cohort of students in the Bachelor of Science in Nursing in August of 22, and they have just successfully completed their first year. And I want to take this moment again to remind the board that you graciously allowed me to leave this board meeting back in October of 2022. Then Chairman Shorty said that he thought I could be in a better place. And so I left this meeting to join my colleagues, Dr. Smith and Dr. Rugan, in the finalist interview held by LCMC Health to select its academic partners in institutions they believed would be a great fit to train future nurses for their healthcare system. LCMC Health's rigorous selection process was no cakewalk. We had to demonstrate our capacity to deliver a high-quality education to students enrolled in SUNO's Bachelor of Science in Nursing. And this substantial contribution that we're receiving today is a result of a well-written, compelling proposal and presentation and interview that we made to LCMC Health back in October. And you know, this day comes just after the nation celebrated the Juneteenth holiday. This is LCMC's first partnership with a public historically Black college or university. And one of the proposal's requirements was to concentrate on training and graduating a more diverse population of nurses. And our program will answer that charge. Funds from this award will provide an exceptional education and opportunities for students enrolled here at SUNO. And now I would like to invite Dr. Kim Rugan, our Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, to the podium to speak more about what this program will look like and what it means for our university and how our students will benefit from this extraordinary partnership with LCMC Health.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Good morning, Chairman Lawson, President Shields, honorable members of the board and chancellors and visiting guests. Today is going to be a little bit different from our past presentations. But today is very, very exciting for Southern University at New Orleans. As Dr. Ammons so eloquently summed up how we got to this wonderful day and this wonderful announcement of this partnership. We are so pleased to have LCM Health, who is well known for providing exceptional patient-centered care through its world-class facilities and acclaimed physicians, nurses, and other healthcare personnel and providers as our partner and investor in the SUNO School of Nursing. As the chancellor stated, this has been no cakewalk. There were many days of writing and talking and negotiating and writing and talking and negotiating, but we made it to this day. And I am honored to announce our partnership and our agreement with LCMC Health. This spring, the university signed a letter of intent with LCMC to invest upwards $1,050,000 to the next nursing cohort. According to the letter of intent, beginning in the fall of 2024, the LCMC SUNO Nurse Scholars Program will support up to 35 full-time students with tuition assisting completion of the nursing program. Our students upon graduation will become the next generation of healthcare leaders as they join the ranks of the outstanding medical staff at LCMC. LCMC Health, you are family now. We are so grateful to have you as our partners, and we welcome you to the Southern System family. I would like to ask members from the LCMC healthcare facilities to come to the podium. And in place of Dr. Robin McGoey, we have CJ Morabley, we have Dr. Flowers, and I believe it's, what's your name? Dr. Johnson. Stacy, and I'm related to her daughter, and I like, that's family. Dr. Ammons, I know everybody. That's my cousin's mama. So I invite them to the podium to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I'm also a minister, so I almost wanted to say give an honor too. But this is such a great opportunity, such a great day. I am Dr. Tony Flowers. I am the Chief Diversity and Social Responsibility Officer at LCMC Health. We are thrilled to be celebrating this new partnership. LCMC Health has a strong history of supporting our communities with the best possible care, which includes investing in the healthcare of the leaders of tomorrow. Since our inception, we've been committed to taking an active role in preparing young talent to become the future of healthcare. It's important that we continue to build on our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion through initiatives such as these. Creating a sense of belonging extends beyond hospital walls. To successfully establish inclusive environments, we need to build thoughtful programs and administrative pipelines through partnerships with our community and stakeholders like you. This pipeline program is particularly noteworthy for community healthcare because our partnership will help address the critical nursing shortage. The partnership will also advance workforce diversity by preparing and supporting the next generation of Black healthcare providers in New Orleans with expanded access and tuition-free education for eligible students. Investing in better healthcare for tomorrow means laying the groundwork today. And I'm proud that LCMC Health is creating solutions by investing in meaningful change. Thank you all again for joining us for this celebration, and I look forward to seeing the impact these students will make in our community. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am CJ Barberly. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer and Chief Operating Officer at New Orleans East Hospital, part of LCMC Health. I've had the honor to be on this journey with Suno for the last few years, been part of the team to put together a proposal for the Board of Nursing, being part of the team to help interview for the founding chair, and being part of the groundbreaking ceremony. So I'm proud to be part of LCMC and this partnership with Suno to move this initiative forward, because we know that the only way we close the gap of healthcare disparities in our communities is that we educate and train people from those communities to give back to their families and their neighbors. So thank you for this opportunity to partner. We are committed to making sure that this is a successful program, and all the LCMC family is here for whatever the Suno nursing program needs. Thank you.
I would just like to say one final thing. We are working very hard to continue diversification of our workforce. I want to introduce Dr. Stacy Williams, who is our Director of Diversity, Social Responsibility, and Community Engagement, who also is an alum of Suno.
At Southern.
At Southern.
No, Southern
Oh,
University.
I'm sorry.
Hello. I am an alum of Southern University. I received my PhD, was a part of the first cohort of the executive program in public policy department. I am pleased to be part of this initiative. I look forward to working with all of you and improving the healthcare in our communities. Thank you.
Greetings, distinguished Board of Supervisors, faculty, staff. I was invited by Chancellor Pierre and his team 2 years ago to begin looking at ways to serve this magnificent system across the state of Louisiana under his leadership. I'm happy to report that since we started that 2 years ago, we've probably bought a half a dozen corporate relationships to test and learn emerging models. Chairman Lawson raised the bar. About 30 days ago, there was a conversation on your behalf out of a desire and an appetite to see Southern become the leading institution for non-traditional students, continuous learners, and to have the university system become future-proof and a future-proof leader in the higher ed sector. What you accomplished these last 2 days in retreat is history-making. We were sitting back there totaling the aggregate industry sectors that you all represent on the Board of Supervisors. And the impact for this state is going to be tremendous through your leadership. I want to thank President Shields and his team for being so welcoming as well. All of the chancellors. Dr. Tarver, I want to thank you for embracing me in my history. And to all of you, Chairman Lawson, I cannot thank you enough for your vision. The access to your wisdom and guidance has been immeasurable. I want to also thank your student member who in retreat brought the voice of the student to life. The needs are immense on both sides. So we continue to request that you lean in and keep the voice of the student present at every time. Thank you for allowing me to serve. My maiden name is Poulard. I represent the Pearson family as well from Shreveport. And it's in their name and in their legacy that I stand grateful and humbled to be of service to you. Thank you.
Chancellor again.
Good morning, everyone. Chairman Lawson, Vice Chairman Whitfield, honorable members of the board, President Shields, and all who are assembled this morning. I'm excited to announce this morning that we are celebrating our 21st Gentleman Cooking Classic in the city of Shreveport this weekend, headed by none other than the former chairman of this board, Mr. Frank Williams of Shreveport, Louisiana. We will have individuals from our community who will prepare dishes. I think I have a table, but someone else is preparing my dish. This event is being held to raise funds. They've been raising funds for a number of years. And so if you are in our area, please join us on Saturday, June 24th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and it'll be held at the Convention Center in Shreveport. And I have a few aprons I would like to present. If you would join me, President Shields, Mr. Lawson, and Mr. Whitfield, if you would join me, please, Dr. Whitfield. Mr. Gilliam, will you please join me in presenting these aprons? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, leave it. I'm not gonna stop. That's your mic? Yes. Sir. Okay, go ahead and start the video.
We have our next one, and we're getting to get through is what we decided to put this on the front end of the agenda. That way we can focus on the business at hand and keep moving. So the next one, we're going to recognize a gentleman that is just that. Sometimes it's not what you do on the job, is what you do when you're not on the job. It's what you do when they don't see you that matters. When you're in the church, it's what matters, what you take out of the church and put into practice, right? There's a young man that has done just that. He was in my hometown a couple of weeks ago, just spreading the word about being full of great character and being the role model that we often need in our communities, and particularly for our young men. At this time, I'm going to ask our new Hall of Fame recipient from a wonderful Southern University system, Coach Pete Richardson, to come forward. Let's give him a round of applause.
Well, I took over the job at Southern University about 31 years ago. And I never knew that I would have the opportunities to have the support that I needed. And sure enough, those individuals gave me that opportunity. And I guess the rest of it is history. I won some games. But no more than that, I think the people of Louisiana really supported my program. And I really appreciate that a great deal. And also, I look around the room, I still see some individual faces that I saw when I came in. And I really appreciate that. So above all, being accepted into the Hall of Fame is probably your father's dream, because there's a lot of individuals, especially Mumford and those individuals that you see up on the wall, that you never think that you would walk in the same shoes. And sure enough, that I had an opportunity to do that, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Back to 90, and you can hear me every day. He's still a boy on the radio. We have a very, very special consideration above and beyond for the yield of our
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's above and beyond award goes to a young lady on the staff of the physical plant here at the university who works tirelessly to ensure that campus buildings are always in pristine condition and presentable. This young lady does not have no in her vocabulary. I remember when we were working on getting the facility ready for the BASH, our scholarship gala, she stood by our side and provided us with all of the custodial knowledge possible to make that evening enjoyable and successful. And some of you were there and you saw it. She clocked in at 7:30 a.m. and left after midnight. And then on bright and early Monday morning, she was right back on the job, preparing the building for a funeral memorial service. She always has a pleasant smile and keeps her focus on quality work. And what stands out more in my mind is her determination to make her life better. Not only does she work long hours cleaning the Arts and Humanities building and filling in wherever needed, but she's also a student here at the university. You heard that correctly. She's a student here at SUNO. And so after she clocks out of her 8-hour-a-day job, she clocks in as a student. And when I think about this recipient, several adjectives come to mind: loving, helpful, kind-hearted, friendly, polite, harmonious, pleasant, and warm-hearted. I am pleased and honored to present this award to Ms. Melina Guidry.
More respected outside of her community. Exceptionally talented, kind, and true public servant. Many of us are familiar with her because she served as counsel on this board. Deidre D. Roberts is the state. I said the state, I didn't say Central Louisiana, I didn't say Baton Rouge or New Orleans, but she is the state director of Louisiana Rural Development for the United States Department of Agriculture. That is a presidential appointment. Many folks don't know it. She is responsible for millions, if not billions, of dollars that come through the state. And the impact is certainly billions. And she assists in bringing the food to the table, the housing that's being enjoyed by so many people in the rural communities, broadbands. I can't even begin to tell you the initiatives. We're very, very proud that she took the time to come here and say hello to us and present some opportunities for us to take advantage of them. Let's give her a Southern University welcome back. Welcome. Be there, rock.
Good morning, Chairman. Thank you for those wonderful comments and kind regards. I truly appreciate it. Good morning, Vice Chairman, and all of the honorable members of the Southern University Board of Supervisors, President Shields, you and your executive team, as well as all my colleagues. It's always so good to come home to Southern University. I am an alum of the Southern University Law Center, class of 2000. My Chancellor, Chancellor Pierre, has always been a mentor and a guidepost for me. And so stepping into this position certainly has been extremely rewarding in my ability to have transformative impact in our communities and create accessibility by being thoughtful, by being strategic, and having good partners and stakeholders. The way we've had to achieve that within rural development is education. I've seen many of you across the state in your communities, and that's what we do at rural development. A lot of people don't understand. Rural development is the economic arm. It is the economic driver for our rural communities. And in a state that is 2/3 rural, we are over 66% rural here in Louisiana. That speaks volumes about what we can deliver in terms of affordable housing, in terms of community facilities, the ability to grow our rural communities, and in terms of business opportunities, not just for rural businesses, but also for agricultural producers. So thank you so very much for inviting me to be here with you today to talk about these programs and just make sure that you are educated, that you're aware. I've been from Lake Providence all the way to Lake Charles, from Bogalusa to Homer, Louisiana, and all points in between. And one of the key factors is not just education about the resources that are there, but being able to educate our stakeholders so that you can then partake of these programs and be a catalyst in those rural communities. What do we do at rural development? Our community programs fund and create the opportunity to build the infrastructure that our communities need. Many people don't know that we operate in the space of infrastructure in terms of we can build roads, we can have funds allocated for the construction of bridges, we can also build schools, we can provide safety equipment, we can build hospitals. I just closed on a loan in Madison, Louisiana, with regard to a hospital that they've been trying to build there for many, many years. The ability to get in there and really be transformative and work with those teams is tremendous. We can build education institutions. We work with many charter schools and school boards across the state of Louisiana to build new schools here in Louisiana. And the reason I'm here today is because one of the conversations, Mr. Chairman, that I first had when I came into this position, knowing my background with our Undersecretary Xochitl Torres-Smalls, was about higher ed and HBCUs and the impact that this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has had in regards to sustainable funding, sustainable partnership, and sustainable networks for our HBCUs, in particular our land-grant institutions as well. Having those conversations with the executive staff, with my undersecretary, with Secretary Vilsack, we were able to really push to help create and develop a guidepost for our institutions of higher education. And so the presentation that I have for you today is a resource guide that was advanced through rural development, through our undersecretary, and working with the rural development state directors across the country with regard to funding and resource guide for institutions of higher education. And this is a guidepost. It tells you what programs we have available, how those programs can impact what you are trying to do within your own institution in terms of your infrastructure for your institutions, as well as program funding to assist with the implementation of different programs within rural communities. I've told you who we are. We're the economic development arm for our rural communities. That is what we do at Rural Development. But how does that impact your position and your job and your duties and responsibilities to your system? Through our community facilities and community programs where I just talked about infrastructure, construction, the ability to provide rural communities with accessibility to the things that a lot of folks in larger urban areas have readily at their fingertips, like grocery stores. I've been to many communities within Louisiana that don't have accessible food sources. There is not a grocery store for 30 miles. And if you don't have a grocery store for 30 miles and you don't have transportation, what kind of gap does that continue to create in our communities? And so one of the things that I'm personally committed to is trying to close those gaps that we're able to identify through food deserts, legal deserts, education deserts, and transportation deserts. That's what our community programs do. They provide funding through the programs for access to capital, direct loans, guaranteed loans, as well as grant opportunities for rural communities to take advantage of. Partnering with strategic partners like institutions of higher education, working on plans that help them develop strategic outlying areas within their communities that they need to address is an opportunity for synergy between what the institution has to offer and what the communities need. Our Rural Community Development Initiative grant is really an important grant that I think should be noted and one that should certainly be considered by institutions. It's a competitive program. It's for nonprofits to help housing and community development organizations. Tremendous opportunity there. It's in populations of less than 50,000. Certainly our Tribal College Initiative grants are also key to educational development. One of our new flagship programs that we're going to be steadily continuing to fund. I will say this, when I took this position, Louisiana allocated funding, certainly like all of the states across the board, but there has to be more conversation, more people at the table to drive that funding and show the need. Through the Rural Energy for America program that the Biden administration has put in place through the IRA, we have been able to increase the funding that's coming to Louisiana. Prior to this year, through our Rural Energy for America program, which serves our rural businesses as well as agricultural producers, we were funded for $1 million. It's a grant initiative program, funding at $1 million, 25% grant eligibility for businesses and ag producers. Currently, I have $5 million allocated to the state of Louisiana to close those gaps and provide funding. The grant allocation has been lifted to 50% grant refund. And next year we'll have $15 million in the state of Louisiana. That is a tremendous opportunity for our rural businesses to continue to grow. Rural businesses who need connectivity, education, training, which is another driver for our business programs, our Rural Business Development Grant, which is a workforce and economic development grant, fully grant eligible. I'm so proud of my team at USDA Rural Development. In the past 25 years, we've maybe received 4 grant applications for our Rural Business Development Grant Program. This year, because of our efforts, and I squarely put it on my team, I'm not a one-woman show. I show up everywhere sometimes by myself, but I have a tremendous team behind me. We were able to bring in 17 grant applications this year. We're able to fund 7 of those across the state of Louisiana, 1 in each of our 4 regions, and we'll be able to allocate over $15 million through doing those programs. That's a tremendous opportunity for workforce development and economic development in rural communities. I wish I could share those communities, but we haven't made the official announcement yet. But it really is tremendous to be able to have that type of impact. And we've done that again by crossing the state through education, information, and bringing stakeholders together to the table. Another caveat for the Rural Energy for America program is that there's an opportunity to work with institutions of higher education, not only in the workforce development space through these grants, but to also work with your students within your College of Business and Engineering program. There's a $100,000 grant that can be allocated through an application process to an institution of higher education so that you can provide the students to go out and do energy audits. In order to be eligible for those grant funds, you have to have an audit. And so we work with the institutions to provide the funding so that they can send students out, get them trained, have them go out and do the audits within the sector, visit the businesses, assess what the needs are, write that into the application, and then we're able to fund that grant application for those rural businesses and agricultural producers. It's a tremendous opportunity to get students into the workforce. It's a tremendous opportunity for the institution to utilize those funds in order to create, again, pathways and connections with rural businesses and agricultural producers. Our rural business cooperative service programs also is where we have our Rural Innovation Stronger Economy grant. That is a rural job accelerator. It's a partnership to develop expertise in delivering economic and job training impacts. I had a wonderful conversation with Dean Andrews, with Chancellor Pierre about that particular program. And I'm happy to say that I do believe that that is one that SUBR is going to be looking into a little further. But again, that's an opportunity to create high-paying, high-wage jobs for students, for individuals who live within rural communities. It's a great way to create a network and a pipeline as well, again, with strategic partnerships that lie within the institutions. Beyond that, our rural utility services programs, those are the programs that create broadband. Those are the programs that create telemedicine, right, Chancellor Pierre? The Law Center has been a strategic partner with several rural communities in the ability to bring telemedicine and teleeducation access to several rural communities. I believe it was 20 communities in the first tranche, Chancellor. And there's another application process that's currently available. And everywhere I go across the state of Louisiana, when people ask me about the opportunities through telehealth care, telemedicine, teleeducation in our rural communities, I always remind them to make sure that they connect with Southern University because they were one of the first entities to really work through that program to create the opportunity to bring that type of information, that type of equipment, that type of connectivity to our rural communities. So thank you for that, Chancellor Pierre. We'll be hoping that you all make it through the next round as well. And that again is our distance learning and telemedicine grants. Certainly our Reconnect loan and grants is an opportunity again to expand broadband. The Biden-Harris administration has been strategic and dedicated in funding for our rural communities, for the expansion of broadband, for the expansion of healthcare, and the expansion of all of our programs through USDA. Chairman, you're absolutely right. Many people don't know that through my agency flows billions of dollars every year. And those are transformative dollars for our rural communities. And with a committed administration that continues to advance funding to rural communities, rural businesses, small businesses, agricultural producers, that's a tremendous opportunity as well. I've seen many small farm operations now be able to secure funding and grow themselves, grow their farms, and grow the opportunity to create food funding and create food access within their rural communities. That is the end of my presentation there. And so I made sure that all of you have a copy of it. I am always available. Many of you, if not all of you in this room, know how to get in touch with me. And we are happy to come to your individual communities, board members, recognizing that you all represent the state of Louisiana. Happy to come to you, happy to connect to anyone in your community and visit with them. We just completed our statewide tour, Chairman Lawson. Last year, we did 22 stops working with the Louisiana Housing Corporation, recognizing the need between affordable housing programs with rural development and the role that the Louisiana Housing Corporation plays in creating affordable housing as well as multifamily housing within the state of Louisiana. This year, after seeing the tremendous work that we did last year, Senator Cassidy asked to join us on our tour, and we did. And what we did this year, a little bit different, Chairman, is that we brought funding sources to the table. I certainly believe that you have to meet the people where they are. And so in doing that, we brought over 20 different federal and state agencies who have funding available to rural communities across the state of Louisiana. We did eight stops within that framework this year. Dr. Henry McCoy, who's on the agenda today, but I don't think he'll be able to join us regretfully, visited with us on all of those stops. And again, his department is sitting on billions of dollars that no one seems to know about. And so education, access, and the ability to be transformative in our communities is the work that we are doing. I do hope that Dr. McCoy is able to come and visit with you, so I'm not going to steal all his thunder and tell you about his programs, but certainly within our Climate Smart initiative advanced by the administration and the work that we are doing, the Department of Energy stands transformative as well in delivering grant funding, straight grants. I'm a lending institution. I operate in loans. I have a lot of grant money as well, but the Department of Energy has billions of dollars with regard to grant opportunity that lies for our communities here in Louisiana. And so I say that to say that if I can't fund you, if I can't help you, if my programs don't fit you, I likely know one that does. And so we are always trying to get to yes at USDA and at rural development. We are always trying to make sure that we are being good partners. And if you ever need anything, please do not hesitate to call upon me and my team. Thank you so much for having me. I'll entertain any questions or comments that you all would like to ask. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity to bring this information to you and share this with you. And hopefully we get to work together again in the future very soon.
Thank you so much. I think board member Pompeo has something to recognize Mr. Paul Matt first.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Roberts, Robert, for being here today, Director Robert. The Department of Energy, I know Mr. McCoy is not here, but isn't it like $16 billion of grants, $16 billion.
Billion with a B,
Billion.
yes.
In energy. So we got to get on that. And Dr. McMeans, I know you're going to be working with Director Robert from an ag standpoint. But I just want to thank you, Director Robert, for all that you do for us. And you and I have worked together. We've hosted you at the Port of South Louisiana. And I want the board, the public to know that I think this is the first time ever in Louisiana that we've had a state director that is crisscrossing the state and focusing on visibility and telling the story and exposing our people to these opportunities. So thank you, Director, for doing that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Director Roberts, thank you for your presence here at our meeting on the day. I want to personally thank you for what you've been doing for Southwest Louisiana. I know you're a servant, you served the state, you served the nation ultimately at this point in time, but you didn't forget about us. Several months after getting your appointment, you were down in Lake Charles. For those of you who don't know, back in 2023, we had a catastrophic hurricane that affected every individual in our area. We all had to leave, the drop of a pen. But you didn't forget about us. This administration didn't forget about us. They sent help. They've been down there more than one time. And this conversation with regards to the grants with Dr. McCoy and yourself are impactful and can be impactful for our system. But I again want to personally thank you and your staff and your team for helping our area out. We were affected by four different events, natural events, 2 hurricanes within 30 days of each other, an ice storm that froze our city up for a week, and then one of the most historic rainfall that flooded our city. And all of this is within 9 months, but y'all didn't forget about us. So we want to honor your service, not only to the state, but to this nation. And I'd like and ask for you to join us to present you with this Bible, and hopefully the words in here will continue to uplift you in your journey going across this state, spreading the word and helping people in our community. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you again.
You're
We
welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your patience. We'll go straight to the academic affairs, next that the chair of that committee, the Honorable Dr. Leon Tarver, call this committee to order.
Absolutely. Dr. Leon Tarver, the second chair.
Here.
Mr. Sam Gilliam, vice chair. Here. Attorney Jody Amity. Mrs. Maple Gaines. Mrs. Ann Smith. Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion to do so?
Move for adoption of the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded. Been properly moved and seconded. We adopt the agenda. All of those in favor, and on the sign of aye. Those opposed, don't have it. The next item on our agenda is public comments relative to items on the agenda. Are there any comments to be made? Any close? No cards. Thank you very much. And we pass on to action item 6A. Request approval for the establishment of the Louisiana State and Local Government Training Institute. Chancellor Pierre.
Yes, sir. I think I got this right on that. No.
And you go.
Good morning. There it goes. Okay. All right. Great. Good morning. Yeah.
President.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tarver. Good morning. This is a request, actually collaboration in partnership with the Nelson Mandela School of Government. Been speaking with Dr. Ejigiri for the last several months. And we have been working together on a number of initiatives. And it made sense. And we actually reached out to Dr. Tarver also about this idea that we create a training institute that focuses on training local government and state government officials, whether they be elected or appointed, because this is an area where there did not seem to be a real focus on training people in those positions. So many folks get into these positions and don't understand all the responsibilities that go with the governing laws, the best practices. And we thought this would be a good opportunity for us. And the idea behind the Institute is to create certificate programs, symposium, workshops. And we kind of got part of this. I did some research. And actually many years ago, the Ag Center did some things with some with police juries. More recently, you may or may not remember, you approved us having an MOU with the Louisiana Municipal Association, and they indicated there was a need for this kind of training for a lot of the new mayors and all the different people in the department heads and so forth and so on a local level. And we saw the same thing with respect to state agencies and even to entities that are essentially subdivisions of the state that don't necessarily, like, for example, port authorities, boards, so forth and so on. So this is an opportunity where we can have a significant impact. We can create a wonderful way of reaching out to the state of Louisiana, create a very special and transformational opportunity, and also be a revenue driver. Because we've learned that a lot of these entities have budgets for training, and this is a great way to essentially access that. For example, and I was talking to Dr.
Dr. Williams. She's going to introduce me to the head of the Louisiana Police Jury. And we already know that the new incoming president of Louisiana Municipal Association is one of our alums who is the mayor of Canterville. In fact, they're going to have the meeting in Alexandria in August, on the 5th of August. So this, keep talking. Okay, all right. So this is an opportunity for us to, again, be a major player in this particular area. And you seek the approval of this from the board. Here.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Christine. At Baton Rouge campus, Mr. President.
It's at Suno.
Is it soon?
Chancellor Ammon.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
Dr. Ammons?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we have submitted a request for approval to change the name of the Department of Nursing to the School of Nursing. Currently,
Just run the stick to the board
department
members.
is in the College of Arts and Sciences, and that college offers 14 degrees, 3 other departments, and 3 other academic units. We think that by elevating the department to the School of Nursing will, first of all, give it more visibility, and it will bring it in alignment with all of the other nursing programs at public 4-year institutions in the state of Louisiana. But I think even more importantly, as we enter into this, into this accreditation process, it will give the school more autonomy and flexibility in developing its curriculum, its faculty and resources, and to meet the standards of the Commission on Collegiate Nursing Education, which is the accrediting agency that we have selected. Also, too, I think it would give this university the opportunity for more partnerships and collaborations with other schools of nursing, as well as federal agencies.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Are there any questions of Dr. Ammons? Moved by Dr. Williams, seconded by Ms. Smith. All of those in favor, let it be known on the sign of aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you very much. We move on to the next item, 6C, tenure and promotion recommendations for faculty who have gone through academic review and meet all of the necessary requirements, SUBR. Dr. Sahu?
Just take this one. Honorable Chairman, Dr. Tarbo, members of the committee, Academic Affairs Committee, I'm requesting grant of tenure for Dr. Deirdre Atkins Ball. She has served honorably for a long tenure, and after a protracted review process, she has met the criteria to be tenured based on the existing faculty handbook. Thank you for your kind consideration.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I don't need. It's been moved by Mr. Gilliam and seconded by Ms. Smith. All of those in favor, the sign of aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you very much. We move on to action item D, E, and F.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I'm in order.
Is that a second? Okay. It's been moved by Mr. William and seconded by Dr. Williams. That we approve items D, E, and F in global. Any questions? All of those in favor, let it know the sign of aye. Those opposed, so have it. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we go now to item 7, other business. Is there any other business before the committee at this time? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn. Mr. Ahmadi, passed. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gillum, you seconded it? Okay. We have a motion offered by Mr. Ahmadi and seconded by Mr. Gilliam. All of those in favor? We are so adjourned. Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move direct the Facilities Committee and ask that the chair of that committee, Attorney Edwin Shorty, call that committee to order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Facilities and Property Committee is called to order. Roll call, Mr. President.
Thank you. Attorney Edwin Shorty,
Present.
Attorney Des Moines Rutledge, Mr. Paul Matthews, President, Mrs. Ann Smith, Dr. Leon Tarver II, Dr. Ronnie Whitfield, Mr. Myron K.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by Dr. Tarver, seconded by Ms. Smith. Are there any public comments germane to the Facilities and Property Committee? Any public comments? Yes, sir.
You didn't present a card. You can't speak.
Now, let's move along with the public comment. Let Doc, come give your public comment.
Sorry, I thought I'm here. I can talk, I don't have to fill a card. Good morning, honorable members. Thank you very much for coming and visiting us and for your support. Katrina was good, bad and good, bad because of the destruction. Good, thank God, we start to have new facility, new beautiful building, like this building, natural sciences, art and humanities, and, we start to have good things. And unfortunately, whenever we receive those buildings, they have flood, So there is a problem with them. From the first day when we received the natural science building, there is a roof leaking. We start to have air condition problems. Our school is small school. Our budget is limited. We cannot keep fixing all those problems. The system, the facility in the system and the state received those buildings from the contract with problems. And really, we need help from you because, I feel bad, the Chancellor Ammons every week spending money right and left on fixing problems, air conditions, and, we receive new, like in the physics lab, we don't have electricity on the table, all right? And the contractor left, state accept the building, and there is no electricity on the table in the physics lab, So how it come? Who will receive all those buildings? It is not Sono responsibility. It is whoever received them. The system received them from the state received them from the contractor. Who's following up on those things? We send requests. I came to the board meeting like a couple of years ago and she report the facility director at the time came and he started to blame the faculty right and left. Oh, there is a mold in the building, but the air conditioner is not working. That's why we have a mold in the building, right? Sono has to spend money hiring contractor to clean and all the stuff. From where we're gonna get all this money, Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our first informational item. I would want to briefly respond to that public comment. It's something that I think we're all aware of. And we realize that when the state turns over some of these buildings, that they don't necessarily turn them over in the condition that we want them in. And it's a conversation that the chairman and I have had about us sometimes needing to hire our own inspectors to double check the work that the state says if buildings are prepared for occupation when they're not prepared for occupation. And it's a system-wide problem dealing with how the state does construction projects. So it's something that everyone is aware of. And it's not just this campus, it's the Baton Rouge campus, it's the Shreveport campus. And there are issues with funding and making sure that the buildings are properly funded in the future so that repairs can be done. So it's not something that we're unaware of. And I think it's something that the chairman and the president are both committed to making sure that we can reach out to the legislature and make sure that capital appropriations are done to keep our buildings in a great condition. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. Mr. Dawson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Facility Chair Shorty, and to this committee, to the board chair Lawson and vice chair and President Shields, and to this illustrious group. The point's well taken here, very well taken. The points I can tell you, I received the email concerning that particular problem. I will be down here next week, and I'm bringing facility planning and control people to sit down and address some of these issues. The issues that he spoke about with the HVAC was something that I found when I first got on board. Basically, the contractor put the exit line that was supposed to go back to the chill water system. They switched the interior line coming in with the line coming out, and it caused vast problems throughout the HVAC system on the campus. We eventually got that fixed. Some of you know about the situation with the clouds in auditorium that were falling. We got that addressed, and that is even in litigation to some point, but the contractors, I think, were coming out later this month to our early part of next month to fix it. So the thing is, we do have issues that we have to keep our eye on, because sometimes when these buildings are turned over, they turn over in conditions that are not what they should be. So with that point well taken, and we'll be working with it. What I want to go through quickly, we got a special announcement that I'm very eager to get to. Just kind of want to go through quickly some of the things that projects that we continually have moving forward. We do have projects that's moving forward. We did have our session. We had success in some areas, but I do want to say that HB2 is over appropriated in some areas. So until it's signed by the by the governor and we move forward, we're still looking at some things that we're not sure with, but we still did a good job of getting things placed in there. Yeah, I'm gonna go through things very, very quickly. I know there was some discussion about the Ravine and Bluff project. The Ravine project is completely funded. That is being approved now at the federal level. The Bluff side of it doesn't have any funding on that project yet, but my understanding from DOTD, there's some money that's moving over that we can at least get a start there. There's also some assistance with another group that's looking at getting additional funding for the Bluff project. So that is something that's in the process of being completed. The new STEM building, we should see demo of James Hall in preparation for the STEM building sometime this year. That is going to happen. In order for the designers to complete their basic foundation design, they have to demo James Hall. That's in the process of being scheduled and done. I'm working with the campuses to look at flex spaces. So we've got to move people out and shift them around because of that. But that project is moving forward. The business building is going through finishing up schematic design. It should be going into possibly a CMAR according to facility plan and control. So that's another project that is proceeding. The Lewis Collier Hall, there is, based upon what we asked for, there's some money that could at least go into some schematic design. It would not be enough to go into complete design, but it could get some look at that particular project. The gym at Sussler, we finished schematic design. We're moving forward with that project. Simone and I will be up there the next couple of weeks to kind of continue to meet with those designers to keep that moving. The mega shelter has some challenges, as usual. The mega shelter has some challenges at the federal and at the state GOSEP level. Okay, at this particular point, until FEMA says how much money they're going to give to the project, it's hard for them to move forward. So that's something that we have to continue to work with to try to see if we could get a good commitment from them. At Susler, the Data Science and Analytics Workforce Training Center, that project is also moving forward. We should be finished with the programming. Maybe next week or so. I think the final program submission is being made. The nursing school addition at SUBR, we have some funding to move forward with getting the programming started on that. We hope to get that with Dr. Brown and those at the nursing center started sometime in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Now, just a couple other things I want to mention. The lab school at Southern University has some dollars that we can hopefully we can move forward with design with the P2 cash. There's also money that has been put into capital funds. So we're looking forward with moving forward with beginning that design process for the lab school. There was a couple other chill water lines, one's at Susler, the other chill water line at Baton Rouge, that we know the deterioration of those lines cause problems. There's funding to help move forward with some programming and some design in those particular areas. I got to say that also we've been working with a lot of deferred maintenance dollars. Been working a lot with the Ag Center, and they have some monies for their swine and poultry building. And what I'm glad to say is that the renovations and work that's being done in that building will coordinate with the ag corridor. So when you come over into the campus, when you see A.O. Williams, and I don't want to get into A.O. Williams today because it may give me a heartburn to even talk about some of the details with that one right now. Let's not talk about A.O. Williams today. But the way that corridor is going to be designed is going to look great. You'll know that you have a sense of place. One thing that we're trying to do at the university, not just the Baton Rouge campus, but throughout the system, is create design criteria. What it is we're looking at being, how are we designing our buildings that they coordinate and relate to each other? And that's one aspect that we're doing at the Ag Center, and we're working throughout the Baton Rouge campus to get that accomplished. We have a lot of deferred maintenance projects. One big one that we're coming up with now would be the one that's about $2 million that will be at the J.S. Clark Administration Building. That's something that's happening pretty soon. Those that have been in the building know we've had some HVAC issues, okay? And not at the urging of the president, but the fourth floor is what we're going to be taking care of first. And we're looking at changing the design a bit because a lot of it is associated with our chill water loop. We're changing a design that HVAC system is not relying on that chill water loop so that we could add other capacity to other buildings and then allow us to provide the proper cooling and heating in those areas. So those are just a few things. I want to say that the process starts over, everyone. The process starts over. Once we finish this session, it doesn't stop. So now Simone and I will be visiting the different campuses, talking about additional projects, capital projects that we'll be doing. We'll be talking about additional deferred maintenance. I think they're coming from the Board of Regents. We should have about 50 million coming down, all for higher ed, not for Southern University, for higher ed. Last year, when they gave us 50 million, we got $7 million in deferred maintenance dollars from our Board of Regents to handle 100, not even counting the big things, but maybe just a major 154, possibly close to a $300,000 deferred maintenance need throughout our system. So we're just going to try to pick the most critical things and work hard at it. So with that, I'll answer the question before I make next introduction.
Chairman Short. Mr. Vice Chair, please.
Just real quickly, you know what I'm going to ask. How's my Southern lab doing?
It's still, we have some money in the general fund that have been placed in there. I had a long talk with our senator about it. So we moving forward with getting that going into design and programming. So we got to go through the process of getting a designer hired for that process.
Well, with the change in it, we may meet obstacles.
Well, I think, yes, I think we will meet it. You know, the thing is that with this funding process, of course, P5, money could be put in P5, but that doesn't give you all the money that takes you to design completion or to construction. So we will have some political heavy lifting to do in the future to make sure we move forward. But my goal is there's any money that placed toward a project, whether it be capital project or deferred maintenance project, to get those dollars encumbered on the project moving forward.
Man.
Chairman Short.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dawson, we talked about in our previous meetings about your team and
Yes.
what more that you need from in-house or contracted. So I'm asking from that update, have you put in requests of what you need for your team or any outsourced teams that you need as well?
Yes. Yeah, the plan to move forward is to utilize outsourcing as much as possible. That is contractors and things that could come in and assist. You know, my boss and I have been talking about it and we are moving forward with getting that budget implemented for next year. The goal for that particular direction. If I'm able to get a contractor, I'm able to bring someone in that may have 15, 20 years experience. It's hard for me to hire someone with that experience with the budget that may have to pay for employees. Second thing that's important about that particular philosophy, if I need a special skill set, I can ask that contractor, I need someone that specializes in structural. I need someone that specializes in HVAC. I need someone that specializes in electrical. I could bring that type of resource because I have a company that's providing me with that particular project management help and assistance. The third thing I think that it is important, it gives me the capability of possibly bringing in some very talented former graduates from Southern University who would be willing to work with a contractor to do projects at Southern University. I may be a little selfish in what I'm thinking, but possibly because they've already retired and worked 30 years, they may not want to work 40 hours, but they'd be willing to put in a good 15 to 20. And because they have a love for university, they would not be willing to accept the same fee that would normally be paid for that type of services. That way, I'm asking the contractor to pass that savings on to the university, not to even talk about fringe costs and everything that we'll save by doing it. Last thing, once the project is over, guess what? I can tell that particular contractor, go home, nice job. Or if I don't like what they're doing, I can still tell them, go home. Okay. So it gives the ability to really kind of move things forward quickly and bring the expertise that we need. We got to have it because what you saw and what you just heard here, what happened at Suno, those things I hear all the time. Those things I hear, not just Suno, I hear the same things at Susla. I hear the same thing at, I hear it everywhere. So until we get, no matter what the state does, until we take control of our own destiny in this, it's just going to continue to, I hate to say it, continue to go down that road.
All right, thank you. I know a couple of months ago, I asked about the project for the police station.
Yeah.
And I know since the session is closed, has there been any changes, any additions, any additional information with regards to the police station at Southern University in Baton Rouge?
Oh, yeah. We have several projects that were affirmed by HERF in Title III. One is a police station. Another is the outdoor classroom amphitheater. The other is Harris Hall. And the other, what am I missing? I'm missing one. The Global Innovation Center. All those projects are moving forward, and those are some that we see breaking ground pretty soon. The Global Welcome Center, that's one that should be going out for bid in the next 4 weeks or so. So all those projects, including the police station, those things are moving forward. We had a little delay with the designer and submitting the information to FP&C, but those projects are moving forward.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Dawson.
Sir.
Special guest time.
Yes, sir. I'm very happy to announce a special guest we have with us today. This is a gentleman who, when I first met him, he ran so fast, it was like the Energizer Bunny. I said, where you get your energy from? And I saw him everywhere. Down at the Capitol, he was at the Capitol handling business. And he's here today because he has a very special announcement of what he's doing with Southern University. So we have our Public Service Commissioner, Devontae Lewis, here with us today. Okay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Devontae Lewis, Commissioner on the Public Service Commission representing District 3, which is, as most of you may know, Baton Rouge all the way through New Orleans. So I have almost all of the campuses except for Southern Shreveport in my district. The Public Service Commission cares deeply about energy efficiency. And if you're not familiar with what that term is, Louisiana has one of the lowest utility rates in the nation. However, we have some of the highest bills in the nation simply because of what we like to call an energy burden. Our buildings are older and require more energy to use to produce your lights to come on. Our bulbs are old. And so what we have seen is Louisiana has the 50th highest, which means we're the highest in the nation, energy burden and energy cost. And so the Public Service Commission has worked over the years to work with all of our utility companies in providing funding and sources to help public entities, residential, commercial users lower their usage and their rates so we can promote a more energy efficient society. This is also about promoting clean energy and making sure that our system is better. And so as our system increasingly recognizes the importance of addressing climate change and transitioning to clean energy sources, that is critical to invest in institutions that can serve as a catalyst for change. And I fundamentally believe the Southern University system and all of its campuses has demonstrated academic excellence and commitment to environmental stewardship, making it an ideal partner with my office in promoting energy efficiency. I firmly believe that HBCUs with the resources can lead the way to a sustainable initiative, not only benefiting their individual campuses, but also to inspire other academic institutions and our communities to adopt eco-friendly practices. And I'm proud to announce that I am partnering in this transformation endeavor, supporting Southern University's vision of becoming a model institution for energy efficiency and environmental stewardship. The Public Service Commission has a program that is called the Public Entities Energy Efficiency Program, where each commissioner is granted money to appropriate to public entities to make their entity energy efficient. And so I am honored and pleased to announce today that I am awarding Southern University A&M College $1.26 million to improve energy efficiency and lighting infrastructure at A.W. Mumford Stadium. I firmly believe that this investment will reduce the campus's energy consumption. It will lower their energy cost. It would improve public safety and, of course, reduce carbon emissions, but most importantly, I think promote sustainable practices and enhance game day experiences that we all enjoy. And so this grant today is part of my ongoing commitment to promote environmental sustainability and fostering educational opportunities for HBCUs. And my office has already awarded the money. The project is underway. And I believe if everything stays on course, when we have opening game day, Mumford Stadium will have new energy efficiency LED lights that produces a real clean environment and a great game day experience. So I'm honored today to announce this grant to the university.
Chairman Lawson, I think for 1.1, we should get him a picture. I think so too.
Picture and a hot dog.
Awesome.
Wait for us in back room. Thank you for everything you represented. You sit in the back.
Yeah, yes, I just want to say, Mr. Chair, that again, I want to thank our Public Service Commissioner, Devontae Lewis. He has done a wonderful job of working with us and looking at how we can better provide, suitable lighting at a lower cost, to the university. And I can tell you the project is moving forward very quickly. And so the game day experience that he was speaking about, that those lights will be able to change color and do that kind of thing. And so it will be a great experience along with saving a lot of dollars. So again, I want to thank him, and we look forward to working with him on other projects that will move into our classrooms, into our facility and buildings. Wow.
Okay. Thank you again, Mr. Lewis. Any other business? Any other business? If not, I will take that.
Thank you, Chair Shardy. I'm going to ask that this time we move into the Finance Committee and ask the Chair of that committee to call her committee to order, the Honorable Dr. Orlando Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Roll call, please, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Dr. Orlando Williams.
Present.
Mrs. Ann Smith. Mr. Sam Gilliam. Mrs. Christy Reeves. Attorney Des Moines Rutledge. Dr. Leon Harvard II. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Moved by Dr. Tarver, second by Mr. Gilliam. All in favor? Motion passes. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, item 5, action items, request approval for the increase of housing fees at SUNO. Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The university has undertaken an assessment. And after that assessment, we realized that we had not increased housing fees in 8 years, which is resulting in our inability to keep up with the cost of living as well as inflation. We have also determined that expenses for energy, internet, cable, and maintenance have risen by an average of about 19% in the last 3 years. And so to offset these costs, we're asking for this cost of living and inflation increase. And we're also asking to impose a $50 cable fee, cable and internet fee per semester for housing residents. Right now, that there is no additional cost for internet and cable. We also took a look at our neighboring universities, and we found that we have the lowest housing fees in this area. And again, it is hampering our ability to provide the kind of maintenance as well as other amenities to the students in the housing. We're also asking to establish a deposit of $250 for damages. Now, we'll collect this at the beginning of each semester, but if there is no damage, that $250 would be returned to the students.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. Are there any questions? Ms. Ann?
Well, it depends on the type of room or the type of apartment. For a 1-bedroom, we're looking at taking it 10%. It would be an increase of $440 per semester. 2-bedroom would go from $3,240 to $3,550, a 9.57% increase. 2-bedroom in building 5, which is being renovated. This is going to be practically a new facility. That rate would be $3,700. it would be a 14.2% increase. And the 4-bedroom right now is 2,265. It'll go to 2,500. And that represents a 10.38% increase. And even with these increases, as we compare with many of our neighboring institutions, we're still the lowest. These increases, if approved, would generate about $144,000 that the university can use to go towards maintenance, repairs, and other expenses associated with the residential facility.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. Ms. Ann, you finished?
I'm finished. Thank you.
Mr. Gilliam?
Madam Chair, and to Dr. Emmons, of course, I'm going to join my student advocacy is going to come out here. But I'm also looking at your financials. And you got to do something, for sure. Because I'm looking here at self-generated funds. And it looks like you're running along at about 1.8 underwater. So I'm asking the question, I'm going to assume too, that the vast amount or a large percentage of these increases could be picked up because most of these students, most of your student body, they're Pell eligible, right? Will these be included in the cost of education at 85?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, because I want to join my student member making sure that whereas we're trying to balance the budget, we don't want to overly burden our students. We've got to get more students too, by the way, obviously. We're looking at your self-generated at 1.8 underwater. We've got to go out and get some more warm bodies. We've got to get some FTEs so that we can get that up. Another consideration, since I've got the floor, Madam Chair, I do not believe it's expedient that we can continue to try to balance your budget with 3.4 HERF funds. These are one-time funds, obviously. And I do not believe it's feasible to sustain anybody's budget with one-time revenue, with recurring expenses. We just, and it's not just in New Orleans campus. That's kind of across the board. The law center and the ag center accepted. And I'll speak to that again, and Mac always looks at me funny, he knows where I'm coming from. But we cannot, it is not fiscally sustainable to try to maintain recurring costs with one-time revenues. And as I appreciate it again, this care money is going to sunset in about a year. Is that right? Give me $8 million on that. Okay, so there we go.
Thank you, Ms. Ann.
I got it. It's on there. As I look at the increase in more depth, and with the struggle that we're having now in trying to build the enrollment question I'm asking, do you think that it would affect your future enrollment with all of the competition that you have that surrounds SUNY?
I don't, because with these funds, we're going to be able to address some of the deferred maintenance, some of the damage that has been done to these units. I mean, this year, we're spending somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million to repair smoke alarms that have been damaged and deactivated, dismantled. We want a fire watch. We had firemen here on the campus for several days, and we had to pay them. It had to come out of the housing budget. And so now we're going to be able to do some of the much needed repairs and keep those units up. I mean, they're beautiful facilities, but there is a lot of deferred maintenance on those facilities. And we got another instance of shoddy workmanship. And it's just, it has gone on for years now, and we need to address it. And again, remember, we haven't increased fees for housing in 8 years.
Okay.
And I understand. As a matter of fact, I had a question in my mind as for the beautiful facilities that you have, and many of them are new. And you're still having problems with your air conditioning system right now. And I kind of noticed that on yesterday during the beautiful tour that you planned for us, and the facilities were clean and still the air system, you're in trouble with it, with some of the units in some of the buildings. However, my biggest concern is the enrollment here and with all of the competition that you have surrounding the campus. So I question again, and not you per se, but our system in other ways. Are there any other means that we could even cut this fee increase to half as much in order to give your enrollment the opportunity to grow? Where I noticed you said yesterday, you have a goal to reach that you are aspiring to reach as far as the enrollment for SUNO, and I applaud you for it and I support you with it. But with such a large fee increase for the students that you have, I still question as to if you would have problems with your enrollment increase. It's just a thought. Thank you.
Ms. Maple.
The students that remain at SUNO in between semesters. How many weeks are we talking about there? In between semesters?
I think it's usually about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. And we have students that are, for some reason, possibly financially challenged, that they can't go home in between during this time. So you're proposing $350 a week for them to remain. Am I correct?
I think that's the correct number.
So if they are already financially challenged, then $350 a week probably is another challenge. Is that a lot? I want your opinion on that. If we're talking two weeks, $350 a week, and these kids are not going home because they more than likely can't afford it or they have no home to go to. So let's talk about that more. I'm concerned.
There is already a charge. I think this is an increase. I don't remember what the charge is now. But normally during the intersession, we clean the facilities, do the maintenance that needs to be done on them. And those students who stay, we also have to pay staff because we can't leave them alone.
Right.
And so there are costs with keeping these residential facilities open during the break.
Do they remain in the rooms that they were assigned to, or all of the students remaining, are they then moved into an area where they are all together? How do you accommodate them while everyone else is gone?
I think we try and concentrate them so that the people who remain, the staff that remains during the break will have a greater ability to make certain that, they're safe and they're okay.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking that possibly they would all be in an area which would be more feasible to supervise and make sure that they are safe during that time.
Yeah, because we have over 20 buildings.
Right. About how many students fall into this category? I mean, I know this.
Who want to stay?
Yeah, that are unable to go home in between semesters.
It depends. I think the highest that I have seen may be about 30.
About 30 students? Okay, for 2 to 3 weeks and $350 a week.
Thank you, Ms. Maple. Dr. Ammons, I have a question. I think we can do a deeper dive. These are not all of your students. So what is the percentage of the students from Dillard and Xavier that will be running this, and compared to the percentage of students that are actually SUNO students?
So currently we have about 175, 200 students from Dillard. But the Dillard rate is a part of a contract. We just inked a 2-year contract with them. We have this current term about 135 SUNO students.
Was
Students that what? I'm sorry.
In the residential facility.
Okay, are we addressing now the students that remain? Or,
no, so the question was, in the housing at SUNO, there's also a contract that allows Dillard, if they have an overflow, to place their students here. So but the question I was driving to is, I know that you just said it's a part of a contract, that you have a 2-year contract. Did they see an increase in that 2-year contract, or will they see one in that next contract?
I think the rate for Dillard remains the same.
The 175 are not our students, 135 are our students.
Correct. And so next year, Dillard is asking for as many as 300.
At the same rate that they've already had.
Yes.
Are there any other questions on this item for Dr. Ammons? Dr. Tarver and then Paul.
I'm trying to rationalize the differences between what's charged to the contract students versus your own students. There must be some way of reconciling those differences so they correspond. And that is, it almost seems unfair that your students would continue to pay a higher fee compared to the Dillard students over a single period of time. Perhaps you could break that out in a different way so that all students proportionately have the same rate. I mean, otherwise, I don't know how you justify that in light of the conditions of the students. Would not your students be worse off financially than the students at Dillard?
Will our students be worse off?
Yeah, financially.
Well, the cost of attendance at SUNO, of course, is the total cost of attendance is less here than it is at Dillard. And any increase in costs, whether it's tuition or fees, will go into a student's eligibility for financial aid. All right, so as costs increase, the financial aid increases as well. Now, whether it increases at the same amount, I don't know all of the calculations, but as the costs go up, the eligibility for funds go up as well.
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, can I ask a question? On your chart here, I just want to make sure I know what I'm looking at here. So in the column that says Dillard and SUBR, is that what you're charging students to stay in your facilities, or is that what's being charged at those campuses for similar?
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the chart in your letter.
Yes.
And so it says SUNO current, SUNO proposed, % increase, and it says Dillard. What are those numbers representing there? What Dillard is charging on their campus, or what we're charging Dillard students?
It's Dillard's charge.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is not necessarily the difference in what we're charging people. This is Dillard, what Dillard's charging, then SUBR is what we're charging similar students on the SUBR campus.
Correct.
All right, so I think what was being articulated is that we were charging our students more than we were charging the Dillard students. That's not necessarily the case. That we're charging SUNO students more than we're charging the Dillard students. Am I right?
No.
Okay, because that's what that chart would lead you to believe, what you see here. You could interpret it that way.
You wanna,
I'm sorry,
you wanna go to the, you wanna go to the podium?
Correct. Correct.
Not what we are to stay here.
What they actually charge their students, even the students that come here, that's the rate they charge the students that are placed here. Where we are seeing the benefit is that we are guaranteed those rooms.
Excuse me, could you state your name and position?
I apologize. I'm Arlene Wheeling, Vice Chancellor for Administration and Finance at Southern University at New Orleans. Okay. So what we're seeing in the agreement is they pay us for that certain number of rooms in the contract, regardless of whether or not they actually have a student that they place in the room for us. I don't have any more analysis on that, but that's what that information is about. So we're not necessarily losing money or charging our students. Well, we are charging a little bit more than the agreement, but we come out basically the same because we don't always have to fill every room, if that makes sense.
Dr. Tar, are you finished, Mr. Matthews? I'm sorry, you didn't even get a chance to go. Dr. Tar.
Do I hear the difference of charges having to do with the intercession period as distinguished from the regular semester?
For the intercession period, yes. Basically what that is a rate of $50 a day to help assist these students who don't have a place to stay. So that is pretty much even less than what you could get at a hotel room to have all those amenities for $50 a day. So a lot of them just don't have a place to go. They do have some funds available to go, and they prefer to stay here.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews and then Mr. Amadei.
Oh, go ahead. Do it again. All right, so I see the percent increases are ranging from 9.7% to 14.20. And in the document, you stated, Chancellor, that we haven't raised rates for 8 years. Okay, so we know that in the last 2 years, the average rate of inflation is roughly 6.6%. And if we look at historic inflation rates since the 1950s, 1960s, an average is roughly an annual inflation rate of 3%. So if we took that average over the past 8 years, it's simple multiplication, theoretically from 2015 to today, it's an inflation rate cumulatively of 24%. And yet your rate that you're increasing is significantly less than what the adjustment should be based on a long-term average of 3% over 8 years. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And the second question is, when does this agreement with Dillard expire?
You just approved a 2-year contract.
Right.
And so we're guaranteed at least 200 spaces for Dillard over the next 2 years. And they have indicated that it could go to 300.
Gotcha. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And how many empty rooms do you have? If you take, how many rooms do you have on campus? Put this in perspective.
698.
And how many students do you have?
We have about 135 in Dillard, about 175, 200.
So you got 533, over 500 rooms that are empty. And now Dillard comes in and they're gonna be buying 200, so you're still gonna have 3. So if you didn't have Dillard, you would really be empty. So it's a positive, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
And I think I just think the numbers kind of got confusing because so at the intercession, you charging $50 a day for our students. What is Dillard paying? Or is that part of the contract, like you said?
No, their students go home.
Okay, they go home. Okay, so that was a misunderstanding. Okay, so we're not charging that. You're just charging $50 a day, which is cheaper than a hotel for sure. Okay. That makes sense.
I think the question is, Mr. Amadei, before I recognize Ms. Ann, we are charging $50 a day, but this goes towards that student's Pell eligibility.
Yeah.
Which would eventually and can eventually affect their ability to pay tuition and other things that they need. Ms. Ann?
Okay. At this point, I'd like to, after looking at the entire chart, I'd like to move for approval of Suno's housing fee.
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Gilliam. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, request approval and increase admission fees at Suno. Dr. Ann.
Yes, thank you. We are requesting an increase in the application fee for the university to assist with the cost of operating our Office of Student Affairs and specifically to offset some of the costs associated with recruitment, specifically the use of the Common App and Admissions Pros. You know, we have been encouraged to use the Common App, but the Common App is a subscription. And so we pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $64,000 a year between the Common App and Admission Pros. We previously funded these through HERF dollars, Mr. Gillum, but as you have said, those dollars are going away. But we still have to recruit students. You know, there are travel costs. This year, we incurred somewhere around $52,000 in travel costs for our staff, and that wasn't a lot of travel. And marketing, advertising, all of those costs to recruit students to the university are being borne by the institution. And so by increasing the application fee, this increase would be about $60,000 in that neighborhood for students who apply and give us some additional funds that we can carry out an effective recruitment program.
It's a motion to approve by Mr. Gilliam.
I motion that we approve
The second by
increase admission fee.
and the second by Ms. Ann Smith. All those in favor? Motion passes. Item 6, informational items. Your interim financial reports are in your packet. Item 7, is there any other business that needs to come before this committee? Mr. Gilliam.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairman, brother. Just going back, just referring to the interim financial report. Question, point of clarification, Mr. McClellan, if you would, or anyone else. Now, we're going to have a pretty hefty item of personnel acquisition change just in mind. Give me a clarification. Wait, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Marcus, I need to get a little closer, Mr. Chair. It's better. Okay. If someone, if you would, Mr. McClellan, or someone, give me a clarification on how we fared with HB2 Outlook 1. Not so HB1, because I think, as I appreciate it, that's where we get our appropriation. And as I said, we're going to have a pretty hefty listing of personnel acquisitions here in a moment. How do we stand I know the last day, Nick, the last hour of the legislative session got a little bit hectic. How did we fare? University system.
Okay, I have that information for you, but Ms. Mary is gonna give a detailed presentation later on. I can do it, but she's on the agenda to provide that. If you want me to, I can, but she's gonna make the presentation on it. But we fared well in doing our appropriations. We got money from indirect. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, in the regular appropriate, we received funding for the total amount of approximately $10 million, which means that I can go into detail with it. For the general appropriation, the general fund distribution, non-recurring dollars from this year that we are in now was reduced by 3.5 million, and which was considered non-recurring. And that was 400,000 for the Ag Center, 700,000 for the Law Center, Suno 2 million, and Shreveport 400,000. That's normal, just one time. In addition to that, we also received formula dollars in amount of 839,189,000. The Ag Center received 350,000. The Baton Rouge campus received 480,000, and the Law Center 300,000. On the formula, 401,000. And Shreveport campus received 110,000, again, totaling back to the 839,000. We also received funds for mandated costs, and the total amount for mandated costs was 1,677,000. Of that amount, and the mandated cost is basic flow through. That means that these are not dollars that's going to really benefit the university, because it's the increase in cost of things like retirement benefits and things of that nature. The distribution of that is 636,000 for the Ag Center, 1,150,000 for the Baton Rouge campus, a negative 23,000 for the Law Center, for the New Orleans campus, 849,000. And for the boarding systems, 70,000. They're negative, but it just flow through. It's not going to, if campus have a negative number, it just means they don't have to pay that cost out because the cost went down, of the things that we have to pay. The line item appropriation as a part of the general fund distribution, the Ag Center received $2,800,000. The Baton Rouge campus received, this is line item, 100,000. The Law Center received 1,275,000, and the New Orleans campus received 3 million. And the boarding system received 1.9 million. For faculty pay, we have it's 2,233,000. And this is distributed among the campuses. And that amount for faculty pay.
Did you say Shreveport?
No, I said for faculty pay, it's distributed among the campus. The total amount for faculty pay is 2.3 million. And I can provide this information. This Mary will also provide a copy to you all. She has it in print. In addition to that, the faculty pay distribution is it's calculated based on 4%. And the distribution is for the Ag Center, 49,000. Baton Rouge is 1,082,000, Law Center, 245,000, New Orleans, 399,000. Shreveport, 211,000, and boarding system is 245,000. And that's strictly based on the House Bill 1. On House Bill 2, we received additional funding in the amount of 9.2 million. You don't need all the detail.
They just wanted to appropriate.
But we're gonna provide it to you.
You done, Mr. Green? That's it. All right, seeing no other business to come before us, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Gillen. All right. Is there a second? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. At this time, we're going to move straight into the Governance Committee. I'm going to chair that committee, Reverend Dr. Tolbert, to take charge of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call the Governance Committee to order. Mr. President, please give us a roll call.
Absolutely. Reverend Dr. Samuel Tolbert.
Present.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield. Mr. Jairon Young. Ms. Christy Reeves. Attorney Edwin Shorty. Dr. Leon Tarver. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Thank you very much. On the third item on the agenda, the chairman has requested that we change this from an adoption item to an information item. So as someone make a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Dr. Whitfield.
All right, it's been moved by Dr. Whitfield, second by Dr. Tarver. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. So at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The intent here is to certainly be transparent, deliberate, and to get the best qualified candidate we can find properly within the ranks, but if not.
Mr. Chairman, I skipped something before I got to that item, the public comment section. I need to get that first. Are there any comments from the public at this time? Well, I know we didn't have any cards. Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our intent is to be as transparent as possible and to make sure that if a search is waived, that we'll have criteria that would stipulate the extraordinary circumstance that would call for us to waive a search. We're going to come back with something to approve at maybe next meeting that will be a little bit more accurate when it comes to our intent, because I've heard input. And this is just an open up discussion to say that if there's going to be a search waive, it's going to have to be a great reason that we're waiving. There are times we have to waive a search, but the intent is to make sure that we're doing an open, transparent search. Many opens in the university and athletics is different in many cases, and certain other positions may be different. But we will clearly articulate the board's position, and I'll get input from you all as you would deem to give it, whether it's phone call, text message, or whatever, collectively. But that's the intent, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Smith.
Procedure, does that include the waiver, the waive?
Well, when we adopted the agenda, that was the change. That is not an action item, it's just an information item now. And that's what Mr. Myers.
Absolutely, I understand that. I'm still asking, is that including the waiver part?
All this is delayed and it's only for the include waiver, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other business? Dr. Tarver want to say something?
All right. I'm sorry.
To be clear, there is no policy. That's what I'm trying to promote. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, there is a policy. But we were talking about reviewing that in relationship to this change that was imposed in this document. And the other part of it was to look at considerations of a different time period in the submission of those things. So there's sufficient time for the board to be able to get the requirements in enough time to make a decision and not all have it all happen at the same time, the moment we pick the highest.
I think we had a policy that was being suggested. I don't know if we ever adopted it. I guess did we? Am I correct? Okay, so we have never adopted the policy. That's what.
How were we following that policy if we didn't adopt it? I can tell you that it was there when I was president and I never saw it change. Maybe the research that has not shown that, but if you look at the record, you'll see where this has been existing now for at least the last 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, it was adopted.
At this, the attorney, can you let us know if this has been adopted or not? This policy we'll discuss.
No. What I'm referring to is an existing policy that the chairman says does not exist. Is that what you said, Jim?
It was an amendment, an intent to add the policy. And I don't think it was ever executed because it wasn't put on the agenda. I don't know what happened many years ago. But there was if it was an existing policy, the intent was to amend it. And that amendment was not executed.
If I could kind of piggyback off of what Dr. Carter was saying, I was under the impression, I thought I could review a policy previous, and that this informational item was for us to basically discuss when we're using the policy, when we're waiving the policy, and whether or not we want to make changes to the existing policy, not that we do not have a policy. The first thing is, I've got to figure out if you have a policy, circulate that policy, then it's total change, red line, everybody can know what the change.
If I may, it's my understanding that HR submitted this policy and it was supposed to go in front of the board for consideration sometime last year or the year before, and it was never put on the agenda. And so what you have before you now is the policy that was going to be proposed under Dr. Belton's administration. But what policy that was in place before that? I believe there might have been internal practices, but not a system-wide policy on it.
I beg to differ, but I certainly have seen it and lived by it, and we exercised it over decades. And what I now see is this is perhaps an attempt to reestablish or to expand a policy that exists. But you may want to call it practice. Sometimes practice does take the effect of policy. But we've been following a procedure. Let me use that term. We've been following a procedure for several decades. And it's been in writing. And in fact, if you look at all of the requests that have come in over the years, it obviously means it had to exist because we've been using it. This president wasn't the first to use it.
In fact, I can recall time when we specifically had it vote to waive the cert.
Exactly.
And we were waiving the cert based on the policy.
Of practice.
Well, I would think between now and the time this comes back up, we can really get clear understanding.
Thank you, Chair.
Since we don't have to act on it today. So they can do the necessary research and get back to us to let us know it was just proposed and we were using it thinking it was adopted or it was actually adopted. All right, would that satisfy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's fine.
Thank you, sir. But I know you're the historian, so I want to be sure that I'm proceeding with your approval, sir. Any other business to come before the committee? If not, motion for adjournment?
Thank you.
Now
Now,
in favor, aye. Mr. Chairman, you now have him back. Don't be giving me these tough assignments.
Hey, you got it. That's the most complicated non-action item we've had thus far this year. Personnel Affairs Committee, asked that the chair of that committee, the Honorable Sam Gilliam, call that committee on. Mr. Gilliam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Personnel Affairs Committee is hereby called to order. Mr. President, please give us a roll call.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Present.
Mrs. Christie Reeves, Attorney Jody Amity, Mrs. Zell Dudley, Dr. Leon Tarver, Dr. Orlando Williams, Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
President.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item calls for adoption agenda. We have to make an adjustment or amendment to item C1. The salary in that category should read 65,000 as opposed to what may have previously been sent to you. Well, unless I'm looking at the wrong copy. I have to depend upon Dr. Durrell. C3, yes. That's the item. Dr. Durrell, correct me. That's it. Yeah, C3 is it. For once I'm right. Okay, here we go. So chair is open to adoption of the agenda with that amendment or that change. It's been moved by Ms. Christie Reeves and seconded by Dr. Williams. The agenda will be adopted as amended. Those in favor, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none.
Chairman Gilliam, with the amendment of the agenda, we'll need a roll call vote to approve it unanimous.
Mr. President, will you give us a roll call vote on the adoption of the amended agenda?
Yes, sir. Mr. Sam Gilliam.
Yes.
Mrs. Christie Reeves, Attorney Jody Amity, Mrs. Zell Dudley, Dr. Leon Tarver, Dr. Orlando Williams, Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. It appears as though the adoption of the amended agenda is unanimously approved. Well, we all approve. There we go. It has been adopted. We move to item number 4, which calls for public comments. We have 2 cards, and we're going to recognize these, if you will, in alphabetical order. Very diligently and respectfully, we will say to the individuals coming forward, remind you, these are comments. This will not be a dialogue with the board. We will recognize initially Dr. Anthony, I'm going to, give me the last name, sir. Akiti? Akiti, I got it, okay. Dr. Akiti, please, the mic is yours, sir. Right.
Good morning, Chairman Lawson.
Morning, sir.
President Sheard, and our beloved board members. We really appreciate you for, trying to resolve some of our frustration. I am the Faculty Senate Vice President, SUBR. So I'm here on behalf of my colleagues. One may ask, why are we opposed to item A1? Because we saw it the first time yesterday through the board agenda. Hence, we are here to oppose it today instead of doing it prior to this time. One may ask that question. So that's really the answer. After the board retreat yesterday, between 4 p.m. and 8 a.m. today, I received several text messages from my colleagues regarding this appointment. I decided to really summarize some of them because of the time allowed. For the following reason, the appointment does not appeal to the faculty at the Baton campus. First, because we didn't have proper vetting of him, he won't add value to our campus. Our committee would not recommend him on the grounds of his academic backgrounds had he been properly screened. 2, he won't be making his decision as hand-picked candidate. He won't be making prudent decisions. When we pay our faculty the minimum wage, you're already aware of that, it is heartbreaking to handpick someone for $285,000 a year, a salary that will be able to pay 5 assistant, professors at the rate of $57,000 a year. At the same time, faculty promoted on campus, they are still below. They are still below. They've not been, upgraded. We have been asking, we know, board members, we really love you. There's no doubt about this. We really do. We want you to take action. And let me tell you, I just want to appeal to our board members, both the faculty, students, and the administration. They are interdependent units that are functionally related. If they don't work together, there'll be no peace, there'll be no order, there'll be no stability. If they are disconnected, no peace, no stability. I really appreciate you for helping us out, and thank you for Coach Richardson, for bringing him here. During his time, some of us, young professors then, because of the relationship we had, I'm not going to mention the president's name then. What?
Dr. Hill,
Yes, sir.
your time has expired. Would you need just a few more seconds?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Fairness, let's grant you just a few more seconds.
A few more seconds. Thank you.
Time has expired.
Appreciate it. We volunteered through his leadership as a football coach, young professors. We teach those footballers free of charge because of the relationship we had with the administration then. But we don't have it now. We want you all to work for us. We respect you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Dr.
Okay.
Agidi, for coming forth and sharing comments with us. The next speaker coming before us is Dr. Thomas Miller. Dr. Miller, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, Mr. Gilliam, and members of the board, Chairman Lawson, President Shields. I'm here as a member of the Executive Committee of the SUBR Faculty Senate, also as president of the SUBR chapter of the AAUP, American Association of University Professors. And I'm here to oppose the creation of the position of Vice Chancellor Vice Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer. Even though I know very little about what the responsibilities would be, and even less about the person who's being recommended for appointment, because as expressed by Dr. Agidi, I don't think there's anyone, any faculty in any of our campuses that knew anything about this appointment until the publication of the agenda yesterday morning. And that comes as a great surprise to me, because it has been my appreciation that this particular board had a strong commitment to transparency. As a matter of fact, if I can quote the chair, it would take great reason before this board would agree to waive a search for positions of importance. We've also spoken this morning about the funds needed for things such as repairs to buildings on campus, to faculty raises, et cetera. And so when you're looking at a salary of $285,000 per annum, that may be a reasonable going rate. I wouldn't know for certain, but let's suppose that it is. But that doesn't mean that it isn't a lot of money. And to put things in perspective, through the good graces of the Louisiana State Legislature, we have funds coming to us for faculty raises. I think the first tranche is about $900,000. But when you take out fringe benefits, you're left with less than $600,000. And part of those funds on our campus are being considered to make pay adjustments for faculty who were promoted almost a year ago, August 2022. We're still working on that. We're told that universities having difficulties finding funds to provide for those pay adjustments. Despite what you may be told, those pay adjustments have not been completed. So it's a great deal of it's a great deal of money, I think, from one perspective. And it's also about maintaining the idea of shared governance. I think when decisions for these sorts.
Reminding you, time has expired, but are you about to?
Yes, all right. I am wrapping
We will
up.
accord you.
And so I will wrap up by asking you, Mr. Gilliam, and members of this committee, and then eventually members of the board, to consider at the very least delaying this appointment until you've had consultation with the faculty on our 5 campuses. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miller, for your input, and also Dr. Beatty. And again, as you know, I hope that you have an appreciation for indeed. This board makes a big ado about participation in governance, shared governance, I should say. And we appreciate, I remember Dr. Tom Miller, I believe you made the sacrifice to come all the way to Shreveport to voice your opinion and give your input. We appreciate it. And of course, we appreciate the sacrifice and the contribution you and the rest of the faculty make throughout the years. So thank you. We will let you know. We hear you. Okay. We go to finish the public comments. Number 5A, we have a request for approval to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the University of Kentucky. Ms. Pierce is emanating from the system. Who will speak to it?
5A1? Yes.
No, just 5A, I believe it says. Unless they're.
Oh, okay.
It speaks to an MOU. Am I wrong, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, well, this is
The same,
5A.
they're combined. All right, well, Mr. President, if you would, it appears as though obviously there's some concern about 5A1, so we will pitch to you for clarification.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I arrived here a year ago and didn't discover until about 6 months in that the actual number 2 position in the system, excuse me.
But one of our board members is requesting clarification, Dr.
Okay.
Chief, if you would please.
That's an action item 5A. Absolutely. I can explain that. The appointment. Okay. Let me explain. Okay, so this is an acting appointment for up to 2 years. He currently holds a tenured position at the University of Kentucky. He has asked us for his convenience to still receive his pay to the University of Kentucky so that it doesn't interrupt his health insurance and his tenure there. He has this arrangement currently because he's been a visiting faculty member at the University of Florida. He's asked us to figure out if we can do the same here, continue that arrangement. And we're in conversations with the University of Kentucky now to see if we can arrive at an agreement to continue that method of payment.
So this would mean that Southern would pay the university.
We pay Kentucky and
Kentucky would pay the, okay, that's why I was. I think that's the point.
That's the reason for the MOU.
It's very unusual.
I know. It's not something Southern has done that frequently, although the law school, I understand, has done. Is that right? Don Pierre was visiting faculty.
Yeah.
So it's a little, it's not the norm, okay?
And it's the University
of Kentucky at Lexington. No, David Brennan was a distinguished tenured dean at the University of Kentucky Law School. Very successful dean. And since that point, he's been a faculty member at the University of Kentucky and has had several visiting appointments at several other law schools in the interim. never giving up his tenured position at Kentucky. Okay?
All right, Mr. President. Mr. President, Mr. Chair, if I would direct, it appears as though there is indeed a degree of vagueness in terms of what we are actually doing. And of course, the point that was brought by my venerable chairmate here, Reverend Tolbert, is of course quite in order. I have never encountered one like this. May I, is it the board's, the committee, I'm sorry, is it the committee's pleasure then that we would take a deeper look at this, especially considering the input that we've gotten from our faculty? Board members, would that be your pleasure?
Yeah.
May I have, do I need?
Let's get clarity not only from the.
I'm sorry.
faculty, we get it also from legal counsel. I've not heard anything about the particular with the MOU. So are you telling me we're doing this contingent on approval? I'd like to have an understanding that they're willing person, but I don't see how we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah,
Okay.
not in this context. I do not believe.
So that's a separate, if I may.
Well, it appears as though from the articulation that you just made, they're intricately tied to each other. I would think and I would hope that the board, if this committee concurs with me and the board concurs with me, I would think we would want to table this and come back and revisit it at another order. And I am open to a motion to that effect. Okay, it has been moved by Dr. Williams and seconded by Mr. Dill that we would table this, revisit it, do a deeper dive on it, and come back to it. Those in favor on the committee, please measure the number of aye. Aye, I think that's enough. I don't need a roll call, do I, counsel? Okay, then have an aye. The ayes have it. This will be tabled for later, a little deeper dive and a little more input. Okay, so we'll go on then, if you will, staying on the process. Number B, action item. Let's do it like this. Trying to see if we need to do these in global. They appear to be somewhat connected. They are. The rest of these are. Is it proper and the pleasure of the board that we would be able to do in global action items 5B, 5C, 5D, 5E, and 5F? Been moved by, who is it, Dr. Carver, second by Dr. Williams, that we would approve action items 5B through F. Those in favor, please let it know by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none. These PAFs are thus approved. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We move to item number G. Request approval of contract extension and salary adjustment for the head women's basketball coach. And this comes from SUDR. Okay, it has been moved and seconded that this item would be approved. Those in favor, please let it know by sign of aye. Ayes have it. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. This motion is thus approved. We go to item H, request approval of sabbatical of Professor of Civil Engineering from August 1st through December 31st, 2023 to retool and return to teaching. What's your pleasure? Item H. Okay, that's been moved and second that item H, an approval for sabbatical would be approved. Those in favor, please let it again be known by sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none. This item is thus approved. Item I is I. Request approval for credit for prior service at other institutions for Associate Professor Chandria Williams, and this comes from the Law Center. And I believe Dr. Chancellor, let me get your other ear there, Dr. Chancellor. Trying to get Chancellor Pierre's other ear while I'm at it, if you will. And I'm having a challenge. We have set a precedent, I believe, for I've got his ear now, do I? Mr. Alfred, good, thank you. Okay, this is an approval for critical fire service. Will you give a brief synopsis of what is going on here, Chancellor, and restrict brief?
Yes, sir. So the board has a policy that allows for individual campuses with approval from the board. It is discretionary to give credit for prior service at other institutions for faculty members that come. So I reviewed the application of the request from Professor Chandra Williams and went through and I provided a CV and calculated what time would be. She has had an extensive academic career, but not all of that time qualifies for prior service. So what I'm asking the board to do is to approve the request based upon what I was able to glean from her CV, which would be discretionary from the standpoint of the board. And I believe the policy is there's 1 year of service that can be granted for every, or 1 year of credit for every 2 years of service.
And I do believe the board has set a precedent for this previously, Mr. Chairman, if my memory serves me right. Okay, those in favor of approval of item I, may I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Williams, second by Ms. Christie Reeves. Those in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye. The ayes opposed have the same, nays, none. This motion is thus approved. We will move on to item number 6. Other business. Any other business to come before the Personnel Affairs Committee? Hearing none, we move to item number 7, adjournment. What is your pleasure? It's been moved by Fondell and seconded by Dr. Dale. We are thus adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your tolerance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate you governing that meeting for us. It's now time to call all the Southern University Board of Supervisors board meeting. This time I ask the Secretary of the Board, Mr. President, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Myron K. Lawson.
Present.
Dr. Ronnie Whitfield. Attorney Jody Amity. Ms. Azelle Dudley. Mr. Raymond Fondell Jr. Mrs. Maple Gaines. Mr. Sam Gilliam. Mr. Paul Matthews. Mrs. Christie Reeves. Attorney Des Moines Rutledge. Attorney Edwin Shorty. Mrs. Ann A. Smith.
Present.
Dr. Leon R. Carver II. Reverend Dr. Samuel Colbert. Present. Dr. Orlando Williams. Mr. Jiron Young. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 4 is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda as printed? I see Board Member Reverend Dr. Tolbert.
I move for adoption.
We have a motion to adopt agenda as printed, as properly seconded by Dr. Williams. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed, that motion carries. Item number 4 is public comments. Are there any public comments pertinent to the agenda as printed? Can no one approach the agenda? Podium. Item number 5, action items.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for the adoption of action items 5A through G and global.
You heard the motion, probably second discussion on that motion. Hearing none? All in favor, aye. Those motion carries. Item number 8, informational items. We'll go with, we have A, B, C. We'll go to resolution. That's right, it's scratched off on my paper. Resolutions, Mr. Secretary. Dr. Biden.
Thank you, sir. Resolutions for today. Richard Orbra Early dedicated himself to profession at Southern University and A&M College for over 40 years, where he worked as a mechanic and supervisor. Mr. Early was loved by all and was known for his integrity, reliability, and willingness to go above and beyond to help anyone who needed it. His commitment and unwavering dedication earned him the respect and admiration of his colleagues and peers. He passed away on June 1st, 2023. Milford Jones attended the LeCompte Rosenwald High School, where he graduated in 1956. He attended Southern University in Baton Rouge and received the Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts degree in June 1960. Mr. Milford went on to further his education, obtaining a Master's of Science degree plus 60 hours at Louisiana State University in Alexandria and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He also attended Virginia University and Northwestern State University and the U.S. Army Military Leadership School. He was a life member of the Southern University Alumni Federation and Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. He passed away on May 31st, 2023. Martha Ann Seymour Arsenard was a first-generation college graduate. She pursued a career in education and received her bachelor's degree from Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She received a master's in education at McNeese State University in Lake Charles, Louisiana. She was an educator and taught science, biology, and physics in the Calcasieu Parish school system for over 42 years. She passed away on June 2nd, 2023. Carl Edgar Sainer Sr. attended W.O. Boston High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana, where he joined the band and graduated in 1979. He then went on to attend Southern University in Baton Rouge. While attending Southern University, he was a part of the Human Jukebox, where he played the snare drums and became a member of the band fraternity known as Kappa Kappa Psi. He received his wings on June 5th, 2023. DeMario May Jr. was an Illinois native and grew up in East St. Louis. He was an educator focused on creating leaders for tomorrow's world. He obtained his bachelor's degree from Lincoln University of Missouri in 2020, where he received cum laude honors in criminal justice. He completed his master's degree in elementary education. He was accepted for admissions into the fall 2023 law school class at Southern University Law Center. He was awarded a scholarship before his tragic accidental death. He passed away on May 30th, 2023. Mr. Chairman, we have accommodations this morning. We have two, but they are in honor of a husband and wife who will both be celebrating their 90th birthday this year. We have Lena Mae Newton Spears, born in Tunica, Louisiana on October 19th, 1933. Ms. Spears retired from Southern University with 34 years of service in the housing department and working the games and A.W. Mumford Stadium. Her husband, Mr. Andrew Scott Spears Jr., was born in Simmsport, Louisiana on July 4th, 1933. Mr. Spears retired from Southern University with 30 years of service, controlling the gate at A.W. Mumford Stadium for the entrance and exit for the SU football team. Additionally, he's a retired veteran that proudly served our country. The Spears will be celebrating a joint 90th birthday event next month. And so these are our resolutions and accommodations for today.
Thank you, Dr. Vital. You've heard the resolutions and accommodations. Are there any additions that need to be included? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution that's read. Properly moved by Dr. Tolbert, properly seconded by Board Member Smith. Any questions? Hear none? In favor, aye? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Oppose the motion, nay. Okay? Motion carries. Informational items, legislative report 8.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, Mr. President, and members of the board. You have before you a packet of information that looks a little bit like this, that gives you a full picture of what transpired over this last legislative session. You've also heard from Mr. Dawson and Vice President McClinton regarding our funding as it relates to the appropriations bill, which is House Bill 1, and the capital outlay bill, which is House Bill 2, and where things stand. I will say this, that Louisiana post-secondary education this year made significant accomplishments during the 2023 regular session. And these accomplishments will serve to boost our attainment, access, and student success, along with providing some vital financial resources. So for the 5th consecutive year, the Southern University system has benefited from increased general fund appropriations, and we're very delighted about that. But through the collective efforts of our legislative team, led by President Shields and consisting of system and campus leaders, our legal counsel, our alumni, and the SU System Foundation, through our legislative consultants, Southern Strategy, we were able to strengthen our relations with our respective legislative delegations. You saw earlier, and I think he's still in the room, Representative Jason Hughes, who is here in New Orleans, a son of Southern University. So thank you again, Representative Hughes, for your support. You are still here, yes. And Representative Hughes, of course, is a member of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus, and we owe them a great debt of gratitude for their support. Each of our respective delegations in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Shreveport worked very diligently for the funding that we were able to receive, both in House Bill 1 and House Bill 2. It is important to note that we do have additional dollars coming to the university for this current fiscal year. Mr. McClinton outlined some of that in his report earlier, but if you'll notice on pages 2 and 3 of the packet that you have, it sort of explains all of that, to include the faculty salary increases that also includes some funding for public safety, and that is our campus police officers. They were able to address that to a small degree this year as well, in addition to our deferred maintenance and our unfunded mandates. I simply wanted to also mention that President Shields and several of our chancellors were available to provide testimony during the session on mostly on House Bill 1 and House Bill 2. And then we also, some of you were able to go, some of you did rather go before the Senate Committee on Governmental Affairs for your confirmation. So congratulations on that for the board members that received their confirmations. As far as bill tracking goes, there were a number of bills that affected higher education. Those are all included in your packet as well. It's quite a bit. Didn't want to go through those in any great detail, but that is there for you to see exactly which bills were introduced impacting higher ed, where they stood in the process, or where they stand currently in the process, if they made it through. We're still awaiting the governor's signature on several bills to include the appropriations and capital outlay bills. So those will be coming forth soon. Wanted to point out, and we can certainly thank Representative Jason Hughes for this as well, that is the legislation that went forth that now allows us to have our January Board of Supervisors meeting at any point in the month of January, as opposed to those first several days of January. So from a staff perspective, I'm very grateful for that. And so for board members, we do have a little bit more time in the month of January to have that meeting, and we're not required to do it in the first part of January. Also, we're going to be working with our facility staff to have signage in all of our campus classrooms and buildings, signage that needs to say, "In God We Trust." That is a piece of legislation that went forth. We're working to just sort of flesh that out, but that goes into effect on August 1st. So we'll be looking to do that. And then President Shields can share more. He's been working very closely with Senator Cleo Fields as it relates to our economic development district that will now include Southern and LSU opportunities for additional funding for the universities. So we are working on letters to our legislators to thank them for their support this session. And for those members who are term limited, they will hear from us as well. And of course, we've had quite a bit of social media activity going on following the session, simply expressing our thanks and gratitude for what took place this session. We'll be happy to answer any questions either now or later as it relates to information in the packet or anything else you may want to ask about.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask about House Bill 9.
I hear you. Have House Bill 560. That is a supplemental bill. That is a supplemental funding bill that went forth that speaks to one-time funding for the university. And it is listed, Mr. Fondell, on page, it is right here on page 3 of your packet.
Okay.
The bottom chart outlines the funding in that bill.
The reason I brought it up, it says, I'm reading an article that says Southern University Band gets new uniforms after 6 years. And this was included in House Bill 560, part of the fiscal package that was signed by the governor. That's what I was asking about. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yes, sir. Actually, in that bill, the band is awarded a total of 500,000. A portion of that, I understand, 250,000 was to go to uniforms for the band, and the other 250, I believe, is for operations. Okay. Any other questions? It should just be 500. We forgot to delete that. We merged the two together, so my apologies. But that would be great if it were 750.
Great job. I mean, we had a great team down there. They worked very hard. They really worked the legislators. I heard a lot of good things about them, and we were able to say thank you to them more than one time. So let's give our team a round of applause for what they did. This is really an exceptional year. I was excited about how it came out, considering things. And of course, we always want more, and we still don't know whether there will be a special session or not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could I ask this? I know we have a distinguished member of the caucus and one of our state reps. Would it be okay if he would come in at least and address us?
Certainly, we'll always afford Representative Hughes, who brought the bacon home to the system and to this beautiful campus. So absolutely, anytime he wants to address this body, he can.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. President, Chancellor, members of the board. I'll simply say, blessed are the brief, for they are invited back. So I'll be quick. But certainly an honor to be back home, obviously an alum of Southern, and I really want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the members of this board for your extraordinary leadership and partnership with members of the legislature. Despite the headlines that you are reading about the last 30 minutes of session, which was quite chaotic, we cannot underestimate the phenomenal things that came out of this budget. Historic funding for post-secondary institutions, increase for faculty pay raises, unprecedented historic funding for the Southern University system, led by my 36 colleagues in the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus. Your legislative team, the effort of your legislative team is the best that I have seen in a long time. The presence that they had, relationships absolutely matter. And so, Dr. Merrick and others were on the ground each day. But I have to publicly acknowledge Mr. Cedric Upshaw. He invested countless hours when we adjourned, sometimes at 7 and 8 p.m. As you all know, everything in Louisiana is done over a meal and over a drink. And there were probably times where he wanted to go home, but he spent countless hours spending time with us. The reason that's important is because you can really, in a more relaxed environment, really hear the pressing concerns, the pressing needs, and things that we needed to insert into HB1, HB2, and the supplemental funding bill. So really want to publicly commend him. But on behalf of Chairman Vincent Pierre, the members of the Legislative Black Caucus, Speaker Sheck Snyder, all of your chancellors, and the chancellor of the Ag Center has just become a superstar down at the Capitol. The way you bridge and really get into rural Louisiana legislators is to talk their language, which is really agriculture. And he has done a yeoman's job on doing that, and all of these chancellors. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, members. Thank you, Southern University.
Thank you, Representative. The rep is a true diehard Southerner. He never stops, and we're so grateful for him. So grateful. Okay, anything else on item 8A? If not, B, presidential report, Mr. President.
With your forbearance, I think the presidential reports and the chancellor's reports were given yesterday during the retreat. And unless there's anything in particular you want covered, the one thing I will mention is that we will be reporting out the thing that Dr. Merrick mentioned about the Economic Development District at the next board meeting. That's firmed up. But unless there's a particular inquiry, we will dispense with the president and chancellor reports.
Okay, well, I would like to give the chancellor the opportunity to say something. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, seriously, I will not.
Chancellor Ammons is the host.
This is the opportunity to say thank you to Dr. Ammons and his team. And I mean the entire team, the signage, the officers were phenomenal. I look at the door, where's off, raise your hand, she was over there earlier. Then I saw an officer over here, a young lady, Sergeant Williams. I saw ladies on this platform and on the around the table, haven't seen before, and I love where we're headed. And I want to congratulate the fact that we're looking like we should look, population we serve, and the diversity we should have. And Dr. Ammons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You said it. I just wanted to say to the faculty, the staff, the students, and especially Dr. Rugan, Ms. Guidry,
absolutely,
and all of the people who poured themselves into making certain that this would be a memorable board meeting here on our campus. I want to say thanks to them. And I want to say to members of the board, thank you for taking the time to go and visit what I think are really special programs here on this campus. On yesterday, our nursing program, the cybersecurity lab, and our museum. A lot of preparation went into your visit, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. And I hope you also enjoyed the New Orleans style, the second line, the great food. It was a memorable evening, and I just want to thank you all for taking the time out to participate in all those activities. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Rugan. And the Indians out there, everything was lovely. And I did glean something I've never thought about until yesterday when it came to the second lining. And what I got was never give the president an umbrella and expect him to do the Mardi Gras, anything with Mardi Gras. He thought it was raining outside, I believe. With that being said, thank you so much again. And I don't want to shun the responsibility of the chancellor saying something, but I do have a special presentation for a young man that made law proud of not proud of Dr. Bennett for what he did. Let's give him a round of applause. Well, let's get, thank you. So come up, Dr. Penny. Come around. This young man just he keeps going. He doesn't sleep. And we're grateful for him. And he is as analytical as any academician you ever want to meet. If you need some numbers, he'll give you more than you ask for, I can promise you. So be prepared. And it helps when you see a young man that has been in the middle of probably one of the most tumultuous times we encountered. And we went through the accreditation process. without even a glitch. No findings. Rarely does that happen. So let's give him the honor for leading that thing. We'll all stand with. I'll give my brother. I don't know whether they love you this much, Dr. Penny, they're ready to go to the cafeteria. They moved kind of swift towards the cafeteria. Let- Here. Dr. Penny. Yeah. So we're gonna go back to our seats. We're gonna close and we'll exchange some pleasant. Hey, yeah, that's your husband. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. That's right. Okay, I also want to, as we move around the table, there's something else that's historic. We have our first female chancellor for Southern University of Shreveport, Dr. Aubrey Gann. Need some love. Okay. Interestingly enough, Dr. Gann started at Shreveport campus, grew from Shreveport campus, I think, to Baton Rouge campus, moved from Baton Rouge campus to New Orleans campus. I think got your terminal degree after that and did some things in between that and ended up, from what I understand, exactly where you want to be back home. And it says a lot for someone to want to come back home. So thank you again for Dr. Gann for stepping up. And I'm sure you're going to lean on the wisdom and the progress that Dr. Penning made. Dr. McMeans, anything? You have any comments? Dr. Pierre? The record reflect Dr. Pierre didn't have anything to say. Yeah. Dr. Sahu? Okay. Item number 10, what's your pleasure? Adjournment. I have a motion by Board Member Reeves. Considers adjourned. Second by this president. Thank you. Have a good day. Safe travels back home. Have they coming up next time?